exact same prompt that we had above, except this time we've gone out of our way to explicitly identify our prompt as being associated with the human role, and under the hood we end up with the same prompt. Furthermore, we can now work with this prompt as you would expect, the exact same way as we did previously, and create chains with it and invoke it. And you can see in the same situation, we get back an AI message with the same response. All right. You might be wondering now, okay, so wait a second. We're basically getting the exact same thing as before, but I had to do more work and write more text. Is that what you're saying? I am saying that for now, right? But as we proceed in this notebook and into further notebooks in this section, you're going to see that the extra work for typing out some extra characters to explicitly define roles, we're going to be able to leverage this ability to great effect in several different ways, which we'll be looking at. Okay, but before we look any further in that direction, I do want to take a quick aside. This is just about some syntactic sugar that's available to us in LangChain. When we use chat prompt template from messages, we can invoke it with a list of 2 tuples. But again, this is in some of the newer versions of LangChain. It wasn't always like this, and it's 100% syntactic sugar. If you want, you don't have to use the from messages method. You can, if you wish, invoke chat prompt template directly. And if you do invoke chat prompt template directly, it's equivalent to invoking its from messages method. So these two code cells here, you can see by looking at the chat prompt template that's generated from each of them, they are in fact equivalent. Feel free to use whichever one you want. In this workshop, we're primarily going to be working with from messages, both out of habit and also because it's more explicit. But most importantly, just remember and kind of tuck away, because you'll see both of these in the wild. If you see either one of these out in the wild, you can assume that they're equivalent. Okay, so knowing what you know now about using the from messages method, we've got a really simple exercise for you to take this chain right here and just refactor it. Just refactor it instead of using from template to use from messages and explicitly define that it's a human message. Try your best not to just like copy paste this, like give your fingers a chance to kind of learn the syntax to help you remember it better. Go ahead and pause the video. This is a short one. It should only take you a few minutes. And when you're done, come back. We'll take a look at the solution together briefly and then move on to the next part of the notebook. Okay, good luck. Okay, hopefully you found that pretty straightforward. If we look at the solution to this right here, we replaced from template with from messages, which we're invoking with a list. Just like we saw above, our list is containing a 2 tuple. We've taken the prompt that we specified above and made it the second item in the 2 tuple. And in the first item, we've provided the string human to indicate that this particular message ought to be associated with the role human. Just to as the exercise asked, to redo the entire chain, we create a parser and create the chain, and you can see that we're able to invoke it, and it behaves sort of as we would expect. Okay, so we know now that we can make explicit use of the human role. Let's talk about another role, namely the AI role. We saw above when introspecting the response we got back from the large language model that the large language model created messages that were given the AI message, right? They were an AI role message. So it turns out, even though to begin with this might seem a little counterintuitive, but we as developers, as humans, can also explicitly write AI messages. We're not precluded from doing that. They're not available only to actual LLMs. So here's a simple example using the syntax that we saw above. We're going to use from messages again, passing in a list of 2 tuples. But this time we're going to pass more than one item into our list. The first will be a human message saying hello. And then us as developers are going to write an AI message. So now in the first position of the 2 tuple, instead of providing the string human, LangChain can expect us when we want to specify an AI message to use the string AI. And we're going to say, hello, how are you? And then we're going to write a third human message. And in this situation is where we're going to include our parameter, namely prompt. So let's create this prompt template as we've done previously. We know that this prompt template is expecting a single value, namely prompt, and we can invoke this prompt template, passing it in a value for the parameter it expects. And now if we look at the prompts to messages method, we can see that this prompt in fact contains 3 messages: a human message that says hello, an AI message that says how are you, and a human message that says I'm well, thanks. So again, later in this section, we're going to look at leveraging this ability to much greater length. But before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about why we would want to do this even to begin with. This ability allows us to construct prompts that contain additional context for the model to use when generating its, let's say, final response. From the model's perspective, right, when we pass in multiple messages like this, it's seeing what has already happened in the current chat conversation, right? And this context about what has already happened can definitely influence how the model responds in subsequent conversational turns. In this workshop, we're going to consider 2 primary ways to utilize this ability. The first is when we want to implement chatbot functionality, and specifically I mean chatbot functionality where throughout the course of a conversation, the model is aware of the parts of the rounds of conversation that have already occurred. And the way that we're going to leverage this is that after every human AI interaction, we send a prompt, the model sends a response. We can take those interactions, right, and save them somehow, and prefix incoming prompts with that list of messages that has already occurred. So thus, whenever we send a message to the chatbot, it is aware of the full context of the conversation up until that point, and is therefore able to respond more appropriately, right? So we're going to be looking at this in much greater detail in the last notebook of this section. The second main way that we're going to utilize this explicit use of roles is by constructing our own fictitious human AI interactions to serve as examples to the model about how it ought to respond to subsequent human messages. This technique of providing human AI interactions as examples by way of our incoming prompt is referred to as few-shot prompting, and we're going to look at that in the next notebook. Okay, so again, this is more of a syntactic set of cells here, but as it's often the case with LangChain, we have multiple ways to do the same thing, and this is also true of creating role-specific messages. So up until now, right, we've been using this 2-tuple syntax, right, to use a 2 tuples to specify the role in the first position of the tuple. But as an alternative to the 2-tuple syntax, we can also use LangChain's human message and AI message classes. We imported these at the top of the notebook, but we'll import them again here off of LangChain core messages. We have human message and AI message. And if we should wish, instead of using this 2-tuple syntax here, where the role is written as a string that LangChain expects, we can instead use the human message or AI message class constructors provided by the LangChain library. And instead of a 2-tuple, we invoke these objects here. And instead of providing the actual content as the second item in the 2-tuple, we set the content field when invoking this with the actual content. So all that to be said, this cell here on my screen as 26 and this cell here on my screen as 28 are in fact equivalent. If you want, take the time to give them different names and introspect them, and you'll see that they're exactly the same. And once again, it's really kind of up to you what you prefer, or up to you and your team what you prefer. Most importantly, in the context of this workshop, we just want to make sure that you're aware of both of these because you'll see them both quite frequently in the wild, and it's important to know what you're looking at. Okay, so now that you're familiar with human and AI messages, including how to author them in chat prompt templates using the from messages method on chat prompt template, in the next notebook, as we discussed, you're going to learn a powerful and very popular technique called few-shot prompting. that's going to leverage your message authoring skills to provide chat models with examples that can impact their behavior in really important